Inside the Indianapolis Zoo with Matt Standridge.
Hello and welcome to Inside the Indianapolis Zoo. I'm 13 weather meteorologist Matt Standridge, and we've got a great show for you. This month, we are celebrating America's national bird. We'll introduce you to the zoo's resident bald eagle. Plus, we're celebrating Zookeepers Week and the men and women who devote their lives to caring for the animals here. But first, we're going to show you how the zoo is helping support the next generation of conservationists. Let's go. Here we are in the beautiful White River Gardens here at the Indianapolis Zoo. I'm joined by Justin Burkhoff, Vertebrate Conservation Coordinator here at the zoo.
Yep.
I want to talk about these Wild Futures grants that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so this is our second year of Wild Futures. We started it last year, obviously. And the idea was a smaller grant. And so we could change the focus of how we're supporting conservation and the scope we're doing it, but also start to tailor it more towards looking at early career students, but also the other side of it was kind of high risk, high reward. So, you know, a smaller grant's got a cap of $5,000, but it allowed us to start to influx money into spaces that maybe the bigger grant wasn't suitable for, or an opportunity for somebody to create experience and really start to kickstart their own career.
Why is it important to help kickstart some of these careers?
It's a hard space to be, right? Like, people come up through school, they, graduate with a degree, and then they're looking for the next thing. And, as much as we want conservation just to happen, it takes money, right? Like, you have to be able to fund the project, you have to be able to, feed yourself and those sorts of things. And so this kind of grant really targets people in that position of like, how do I take that next step?
So this is year two.
Year two.
How did last year go, and is there anything new this year?
We did an open call. So last year was the first time we'd ever done an open call for any of our conservation grants. And we awarded, out of the 586 expressions of interest, we awarded 10 grants. So it was fiercely competitive. This year, people are expecting it, so we had people who are ready, ready and waiting for when it was announced. So we got things fast and quick, but only about 230 expressions of interest. So they're just as competitive. There's amazing projects in there, and we're just not going to be able to fund all of them. However, we had a donor locally that expressed an interest in it and matched our fund. So we're going to be able to fund 20 this year instead of 10. As far as how they're going, we're getting reports in. Some of the projects are going really, really well and on track.
Sure. So when someone gets awarded this grant, you guys get to check in on them, how things are going, and how quickly can you possibly see results? It probably takes a while.
It depends on what it is. So
Okay.
Some species, you can see them relatively quickly. With the size and scope of the projects, the ability for them to report back in the 12 months that we allot them is pretty good. But for some of these projects, some of this is long-term. Conservation happens over decades, not years. And so some of this is, we're going to get back great data on what they've been able to do, but the long-term impacts we may not see for years. So it is a hard thing to evaluate, but that effort is really, really important.
Of course, there's only so many funds in total that you can pass out. How do you even decide? How do you guys do that?
It's hard. So we have three primary funds. We have the Wild Futures, we do a short-term and a long-term grant. And so the short-term is a larger purse, it's about $25,000, 12 to 18-month projects, and then the long-terms are 3 to 5 years and $35,000 to $50,000 a year, and they're much larger in scope. How do we pick? They're evaluated. So we get, we have a list of scoring criteria. There's a matrix. There's the things that we want to see out of these projects. Is the methodology appropriate? Does it make sense financially? What are they monitoring? What are they evaluating? Like, what are they measuring? What are they trying to achieve? And part of it's also is like, what is the long-term application of this? Because some of them are research-based, some of them are action-based, some of them are planning-based, but what do we think the long-term impact of this is going to be? Because impact is really what we want. The team, the Global Center team, there's about 8 of us now, review them, and then they're scored. And like I said, there's lots of great projects, and we are inevitably going to leave projects out that deserve funding that we just don't have the scope for.
But at least there's major interest, and it's an exciting space to be in. How do you think this major interest will lead to the future of conservation?
I think we're seeing an interesting space in conservation funding is that there's this, there's the duality of it, right? Like long-term commitments long-term funding is huge, and we see projects that are very successful that have been working for 30 years and have, if you look at the amount of that long-term budget is quite significant. But a small amount of money can make a lot of impact for lots of different species on different scales. And so I think we're seeing kind of a duality of let's commit to long-term partnerships and long-term funding, while also a commitment to early career, like let's make sure that people who are interested in this field stay in this field. Use this education, use this experience, and also focus on kind of these grassroots organizations, these local projects run by local people, and wherever that locality is, and let them run and see what they can do with it.
It's got to be exciting because who knows, maybe one of the folks who wins one of your guys' grants or awards could be one of the next winners of the Indianapolis Prize one day.
I mean, that's kind of the dream. Is one of the things when we talked about building wild futures is how do we acquire projects and programs and organizations into our space, into our partnerships, and let people grow as they mature. And so, one of the applicants for our small grants is Fanny Cornejo, who was was our first emerging winner. And so we've built a relationship with her. She's still going through the competitive process, but the long-term relationship and the partnership and sharing of knowledge that we have is allowing us to really help people along their journey.
Well, we can't wait to find out who wins, what projects
get
the funding.
It's exciting. So the expression of interest for this year is closed already, closed about 2 weeks ago. So we are thick in the midst of doing evaluations of these, and then a subset of the 230, we're probably between 40 and 60 of them will be invited for a full application. And so one of the things that we wanted to be really conscious of is it's not a lot of money. It's a lot of effort to go through these grant applications. So we wanted to make it as easy as possible. So you get that first cut, it's kind of the high level of like, this is what I want to do. The second application's a bit more detailed, but we're trying to make sure that people aren't spending a lot of time on something without much reward back.
Thank you, Justin, for
You're
your
welcome.
time.
Thank you.
We look forward to checking back with you on the status of everything.
We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Still to come, it's National Zookeeper Week. We'll show you how the zoo is celebrating these educators and animal ambassadors. Next, it's time to meet the resident. And this month, we'll introduce you to America's bird, the bald eagle. Welcome back. We are hanging out by the chimpanzee complex with curator of primates of the Indianapolis Zoo, Tim Liddick. It's great to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Hey, so by the way, at any time, if something's cool is happening, please stop us and we'll take a look. But
Absolutely.
I wanted to talk to you about this month we have National Zookeepers Week. Can you tell me a little bit about it and why it's important?
Absolutely. National Zookeeper Week was established in 2007 as a way to recognize our whole community of zookeepers in the country for the hard work that they do. We're going to celebrate it here at the zoo July 19th through 25th this year.
So why is this important? Why should we be celebrating zookeepers?
Because of the tireless efforts they do to promote animal care, take care of the animals in their care, and inspire people to protect our natural world.
So we've got a lot of zookeepers here at the Indianapolis Zoo. You are over all primates?
I'm over all the primates.
Okay, tell me about your team a little bit.
I've got 24 people that work with primates. We have about 90 animals in our collection of primates. Big social groups of chimpanzees, macaques. We have 12 orangutans in the collection, along with white-handed gibbons and some baboons and 2 cotton-top tamarins as well. A lot of work for our big group to take care of all those animals.
Is there something surprising that folks may not know that zookeepers have to do?
I think there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that the public don't get to see very often. They normally get to see our animals on exhibit doing their natural behaviors. What they don't know is all the work they do behind the scenes to prepare their diets, to clean their rooms for overnight, to prep any medications they might be on. It's a lot of effort to go into all the care for all the animals in our collection.
You've been the leader of zookeepers in different divisions of the zoo. How are primates maybe a little bit different for your role?
I think primates are some of the most complicated animals in our collection because of how social they are. It's really important for animals like chimpanzees to be in big social groups, and sometimes they get along, sometimes they don't, and that can make things very complicated.
There is a crowd around us trying to look at the chimpanzees. Does it feel cool to know that your team kind of makes this feel effortless to the visitors as they come to the zoo?
Very much so. People just don't understand all the work the zookeepers do to make all this happen. and the extent to what this kind of exhibit has done for the lives of the animals in our care. It's one of the very few places in the United States where you can see chimpanzees being chimpanzees and have choice and control over their environment. Behind us right now, we've got a couple chimpanzees doing a little foraging behavior. We scatter some food midday to keep them active and interested in their environment, and that's kind of what's happening right now.
Is this something you guys do every day, kind of at a scheduled time?
That's right. Not necessarily at an exactly scheduled time, but midday we do a scatter feed up here, and we feed them breakfast and dinner back at their buildings that they spend the night in.
So I want to know how the Indianapolis Zoo is specifically celebrating National Zookeepers Week.
I'm really glad you asked that question. So that week we're going to have special things for the staff. One of the best ways to a zookeeper's heart is through their stomach, so we're going to have special food for the staff, and especially on July 22nd, we're going to host the Zookeeper Games, which is a big deal for us at the institution. All the zookeepers will be out to have a fun time participating in this group event.
So is the zoo closed temporarily? Can you walk me through that?
Zoo's going to be open that day, but we
Okay.
are going to close a little bit early to help celebrate our zookeepers. We're going to close at 3 p.m. on July 22nd, so we can have that celebration for our staff here at the zoo.
Is there any way that we can honor zookeepers, celebrate zookeepers?
Absolutely. If you come out to the zoo, especially that week of July, say thank you to a zookeeper. People don't know how much time they give. They don't get to take weekends or national holidays off. They give up time from their families for holidays to take care of the animals in our collection. Please stop in and say thank you to a zookeeper.
Well, absolutely well deserved. Tim, thank you for the time today.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate all the work that you guys do. I mean, you make this place possible and you make it so much fun for us to come visit.
Well, thanks. Thanks for coming.
And now coming up, we are going to be meeting our resident. It's July, so we're gonna meet the bald eagle here at the zoo. You don't wanna miss it. Welcome back. All right, it's time for our Meet the Resident segment, and it's July, and what better animal or bird to meet than a bald eagle? We're hanging out with Alicia Bonanno, assistant curator with birds, ambassador animals, and deserts. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome, of course.
Who do we have behind us?
This is Lincoln. So Lincoln is a bald eagle. He, like all bald eagles in captivity, was a rescued wild bald eagle. So he was not able to be released for various reasons. Sometimes they might have an injury or they could just fail to thrive. It can be pretty difficult to learn how to fly, catch food, and just survive out there in the wild sometimes. So all of the bald and golden eagles you'll see in zoos are originally from the wild, rescued, and unable to be released.
America's bird. He looks majestic. Can you describe different features about him?
Sure. So our particular bald eagle, I will say, is not the most graceful of creatures. Maybe that's why he's with us in the first place. But typically in the wild, you'll see bald eagles maybe roosting up high in a tree. They're scavengers, so they will hunt. They'll naturally eat a lot of fish in the wild, but they will scavenge in garbage and steal prey items from other animals. So they're thrifty, right? Which also you kind of have to be in the wild. But our particular bald eagle doesn't really enjoy fish, we have found, which could just be his own preference from living under human care his whole life. He actually prefers rodents, so he eats a lot of mice and rats and some rabbits, things like that. But you can see him running around. Again, he is not the most graceful at flying and maneuvering through the trees. So you can see some of his perching is a little bit lower. It just makes it easier for him to access it.
I was going to ask, where are some of his favorite spots to hang out?
So we recently added that station platform right there, which one of our keepers is working on training a voluntary weighing behavior so we can keep accurate weights on him, and it's something that he participates in on his own. We don't have to physically restrain him in any way, and it's just a very calm procedure for him. So I have recently seen him on his platform, probably because he's getting a lot of reinforcement there. And I also see him on that back perch that goes straight across the lot.
Why is it important for them to have a high perch?
Yeah, so in general, most birds are going to feel really comfortable when they're high up. They have a really good vantage point. They can see all of their surroundings, any thing that could be dangerous, but also they can spot prey items. So they can see their prey from about 3 miles away.
That eyesight.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So their eyesight is much better than a human being. They can see colors that we cannot see. They can see ultraviolet. And again, that distance, they can see much further than we can as well.
I want to talk a little bit more about food.
Okay.
How often does he have to eat? Is he pretty hungry all the time?
Yeah, so we do feed him every day. However, in the wild, it is likely that eagles and all birds of prey will have days where they catch food and days where they do not. So they are well adapted to have days where they essentially fast. But we always give him the opportunity to eat here at the zoo. We always provide him with fresh food every day. So if he decides that he wants to eat, he can.
So I'm looking at him, and I didn't realize how many feathers he has.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a thick coat of feathers. I know what you call it.
Yeah,
Does
feathers,
he
yeah.
get hot?
So they definitely can. I would say Lincoln, compared to other eagles that I've worked with, is a little more sensitive to the heat, I think. So when they do get hot, they will open their mouth to kind of let that air kind of escape their body as well. They don't sweat like people do in the same way. So opening their mouth, kind of how a dog might open its mouth to pant, helps them. You could also see them maybe kind of sticking their wings out. They'll do that to sun, but they might also kind of do that if they're feeling a little bit hot, just to kind of stretch and open those feathers a little bit.
Sure. We keep getting more and more reports of bald eagles here in Indiana. Can you tell me a little bit how the population is doing?
Yeah, so at one point they were listed on the endangered species list. However, due to changes that were made, their populations are at pretty good levels in most states. So they're not currently on that list, but they do face a lot of threats. One thing that a lot of rehabbers find when they receive eagles from the wild is that a lot of them have lead exposure. So they can come into contact with lead that can be left over from hunting. So if as they are scavengers, they might find a carcass that was maybe shot, and if a lead bullet was used, then they can ingest that and they'll have lead poisoning.
That makes sense how they eventually got it.
Yeah. So that is one issue. Power lines can be an issue for them. Various things, loss of habitat, competing with humans for resources can have an effect as well. But at the moment, their numbers are looking pretty good.
That's great news overall, but always could be better, it sounds like.
Yes, of course.
So one of the best things about the Indianapolis Zoo is the enrichment that you guys do for all your animals and birds and species. What does enrichment look like for Lincoln?
Yeah, so for Lincoln and a lot of other raptors, enrichment for them involves stimulating those natural hunting behaviors. So maybe hiding their food around or providing them with large prey that they can rip and tear and just use their talons and their beak to get into. It takes them a really long time to eat. So one of our eagles' enrichment items are marrow bones. So they'll play with them, dig the marrow out. It's a great treat. They love that. For a lot of other raptors, we might do, paper enrichment. We call them like paper puffs that they might rip and shred. Some people will do ice treats when it's really hot. That's another thing we can do to help them stay cool and comfortable. Provide them with ice treats. But for Lincoln, I would say the best form of enrichment for him is probably in his prey items and his food, giving him a lot of variety and offering those special items. Scatter feeding it around where he can go and look and hunt for those food items is another form of enrichment.
Speaking of looking, just a moment ago, some apes were going on by.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got good eyesight. Do you notice him checking out other animals around the zoo?
Oh yeah, this particular eagle is very aware of his surroundings, as you can see. So the chimps going in behind them was an adjustment we had to make. When we had construction, we moved the eagles so that they weren't around when there was the noise going on for construction. And then it was a process when the chimps entered that exhibit for them to see that and be that close to them. So he definitely has the opportunity to move away. He could go inside if he wants to. But yeah, he's very aware of his surroundings, very aware of wild eagles as well. We have seen wild eagles fly over the zoo, and you'll hear him call.
No.
So yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is. So Yeah, he's very aware of everything.
Is he aware of the weather a little bit? And my specific question is, if there's a thunderstorm coming towards the Indianapolis Zoo, does he get a sense? Have you been able to tell?
I can't say specifically, but a lot of our birds or birds of prey, they might just kind of tuck up. So they might just stay on their perch, find a nice, safe, secure spot, and just kind of tuck and let the rain happen to them. Maybe try to get some cover under the leaves. But I haven't noticed anything specifically that he's maybe worried about storms or feels uneasy about storms.
Sure. So if he could create the 7-day forecast,
Yeah.
what would Lincoln want?
I think he would like it to be a little bit mild, so maybe 75 to 80. You can have a shower or two, but like I said, he is one that I think is a little more sensitive to heat. Sure. We've noticed, so yeah, he doesn't want it to be too hot.
So it sounds like he enjoys Indiana fairly
Yeah,
well.
I guess
You know, we're
so.
not the hottest state, you know? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Lincoln flew over here, perched down for a second, looked at you, and could talk to you, what would Lincoln say?
He likes his space.
What's his face?
Yes. So, which is pretty normal for a animal that was wild, rehabilitated. So he doesn't particularly want to be, you know, in a lot of commotion and chaos or up close. He likes to sit there high up on his tree and just kind of look down at everybody. So he might tell me, you know, just give him a little bit of space.
He likes the space.
Yeah.
That's all right. So it is July. It's his month, basically, with the 4th of July. Why do you think, personally, America's bird is the bald eagle?
Why do I think?
Yeah.
You know, maybe because they are just a very large, majestic looking creature. They're very recognizable with the white head and the brown body, so it's really easy for people to see them in the wild and recognize them, I think.
Yeah. It's a beautiful bird.
Very large.
Does he know he's handsome?
I
Some
don't think he
animals
does.
know, you
I
know.
don't think he does.
He doesn't.
I think he's very humble, yeah.
Someone will have to tell him sometime. Thank you, Alicia, so much for
Yeah,
being
you're
here
welcome.
today and getting to meet Lincoln. So once again, you can come to the Indianapolis Zoo and you can meet Lincoln over here. He'll probably be perching around, looking around too. But thank you so much. It's July. This is his month. We'll be back next month with a whole nother lineup coming for you. This has been Inside the Indianapolis Zoo.